My name is Jim Posner. I'm a former Wall Street professional, and now I teach personal and corporate mindfulness meditation. I kind of came into mindfulness meditation because of a personal crisis that I went through years and years ago, which I'm going to discuss in a minute. But for today, I just quickly really want to let you know that this is a mindfulness meditation workshop, so I hope that you're going to learn what exactly mindfulness meditation is and some of the benefits that you can get by practicing mindfulness meditation. And you're going to walk away from here with some actual mindfulness meditation exercises that you'll be able to start to use immediately. And given the current events that are going on, I think we could all probably use some mindfulness. But I just actually want to start out and read a quote from the Harvard Business Review, which really eloquently describes what the benefits of mindfulness meditation are, just so you can get a little excited about learning mindfulness. So the benefits of mindfulness meditation are becoming increasingly appreciated and confirmed by empirical research. It is increasingly being used to manage stress, maintain strategic focus, enhance cognitive performance, promote emotional intelligence, and improve interpersonal relationships. Meditation programs are increasingly offered in the workplace to promote these benefits. So we'll get into learning how mindfulness can help you attain all those benefits in a minute, but I just actually really want to start out by telling you how I got into this, because it's a question that I always get asked, quite frankly. So in 2003, I went through a job loss, and my wife was pregnant with our first child. So I became, frankly, an anxiety-riddled mess. Right? I couldn't sleep. I would just lay in bed and stare at the ceiling and think, how am I going to get another job? How am I going to take care of my family? Who's going to want to hire me? How am I going to pay the bills? So I was constantly worried about the future. And frankly, I was really pissed off about the past. Why did I get laid off? Why not that other asshole? My boss was a fucking jerk. So I was unable to actually be present. You know, this is that ubiquitous term that we hear all the time.
Yes.
You know, and you say to yourself, what is this person talking about, being present, right? Well, that's what it means. And that's what worry is. We're constantly thinking about something in the future or ruminating about the past. So what did I do when this was going on? Well, I tried the traditional Western methodology of dealing with my problems. I started to drink too much, way too much. You know, it was just the only way I felt I could kind of shut my mind off. And my drinking got so bad, I started to basically drink about half a bottle of vodka every night, and some wine, and a couple of beers. I would wake up the next morning and go to the kitchen. Why would I go to the kitchen? To go and look at the dishes that were in the sink to see if it could spark my memory about what had happened last night. What did we have for dinner? What conversations did I have with my wife? Because I just, you know, that's what I was doing. I was just drinking and blacking out, and it was horrible. I tried going to a psychologist who put me in touch with a psychiatrist who put me on antidepressant meds. You know what? This, for me, didn't work so well. Maybe it softened some of the feelings a little bit, but I didn't feel like it was really getting to the root of the problem. I felt like, for me, it was just kind of a Band-Aid on a much bigger open wound. And I mean nothing disparaging against the psychologists and psychiatrists of the world. I'm sure, you know, for some people, it's a great solution. I started to have panic attacks. I had a couple of panic attacks that were so bad, I thought I was having a heart attack, and I went to the emergency room. The only saving grace that I had from my trip to the emergency room was that the doctor said to me, you know what, 50% of the people that come into this hospital in the emergency room every day are here because of a panic attack. So at least I felt like, you know what, I wasn't alone. So I was at wit's end, and somebody said to me, you know what, you should try something called mindfulness-based stress reduction meditation. I heard the term meditation, And I mean, look at me. Not quite the image that would come to my mind of somebody that meditates. So I had this image of, a bald guy dressed in robes, sitting on a mountain with incense, chanting. That's what I really had this preconceived notion about meditation. But I was in just such a bad place. I needed to try something, anything. So I went into this MBSR program. It's an 8-week course, mindfulness-based stress reduction meditation. With a really open mind, I decided I was going to practice and do what the teacher said. And you know what? Lo and behold, it really, really resonated with me. And frankly, it transformed me. Within a few months after completing that course, I stopped seeing my psychologist, went off the antidepressants, had my drinking under control, and things started to feel a lot better for me, and I was definitely feeling a lot better. So that's kind of my journey into mindfulness meditation. And so now the question that we have to ask is, what exactly is mindfulness meditation? Well, what it is, it's just this higher level of awareness, all right? It's present moment awareness, and actually, it's awareness that arises, have a little bit of a brain fart, excuse me. Awareness that arises by paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So when I first heard that definition, I said, what the hell are they talking about? So let me see if I can illustrate it for you. How many people have ever read 10 pages in a book and all of a sudden they're like, what was I just reading? So, all right, so what's going on? You're thinking about something in the future while you're reading, or you're ruminating about something in the past, and you're not being present. Have you ever commuted to work and you don't remember the commute? Okay, so we're not present, we're not aware. There is science that says we have a lot of thoughts per day. Can anybody guess how many thoughts the science says we have per day? We have a
10,000?
no. We have a gift card for Starbucks right here.
Oh.
25.
In the back.
A million?
No.
Oh.
1,500.
No.
50,000.
50,000. 50 to 80,000 is the science.
I get that.
So yeah. So not only do we have 50 to 80,000 thoughts per day, but the rest of the science, the follow-up science, is that 80% of those thoughts are negative and recurring. They're negative and recurring. So, one of the reasons I tell my story is because it's a good illustration of what's going on also. So negative and recurring. How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to get a job? Why me? Right? So if it's maybe I have this meeting next week that I'm really concerned about, I'm not prepared for, or if you're a student, I have this test, I need to prepare for the test. So when this happens, we can't really concentrate. So with mindfulness, what we really want to do, I'm going to ask you to open your folders now, and you'll see this cartoon, and it's a really good illustration.
Here's your folder. I took it.
It's a really good illustration of what we try to accomplish with mindfulness. So, you see the thought bubbles, and what was going on in my head after I got laid off was the person, right? Just constant thoughts, negative, recurring, what we call the monkey mind, cascading thoughts, all these different terms, all right? And what we want to do with mindfulness is get to where the dog is, all right? And kind of clear these thoughts out. And kind of clear these thoughts out. And so one of my teachers actually said, you know what this is? It's like taking out the garbage. So once you can learn to recognize that you're having these thoughts, when I was going through my issues, these thoughts were all on the subconscious level, right? I knew I was having these thoughts, but I just was incapable of bringing a higher level of awareness to them so I could deal with them, all right? And that's what you learn to do with mindfulness meditation. And it's not just, on one level, it's awareness of your thoughts, but as you go on further and further with the practice, it's awareness of your thoughts, of your breath, of sensations in your body. There's a lot of talk about, and there's a lot of science, there's a mind-body connection. So many people have thoughts, and these thoughts actually manifest in the body by grinding our teeth or clenching our fists and, tensing up our shoulders. So, think about this. Think about how much energy it takes you to grind your teeth or to clench your fists all day. All right? Now imagine if you could take that energy and channel it into something more positive. Pretty powerful. All right? So, that's some of what mindfulness really can do. One of the benefits that was mentioned also was talk about enhancing creativity. So think about it, and boosting productivity. So, think about if you can clear your head of all these negative recurring thoughts, then what happens? You can focus better, you clear space out for new ideas, you become more productive, you're more present for your colleagues, your loved ones. So, yes, it is actually kind of like a cure-all. And the science that is coming out behind it is the evidence is incredible. So, years ago they didn't have the technology to back it up with science. Now they do. So what do? They take brain scans of people before they learn to meditate and after they learn to meditate. And there's actual neuroplasticity that occurs in the brain in areas that are associated with stress and anxiety. The amygdala, the hippocampus, these areas actually change in a relatively short period of time if you meditate. Cortisol levels, cortisol is the stress hormone, drop almost immediately. So if you meditate for 5 minutes before you have to go into an interview, before you go into a meeting, before you go into the courthouse, chances are that you are going to be able to think a little clearer, perform a little better, and just live a more productive life. So, how do we practice mindfulness? Well, the first thing that we need to do is to teach ourselves to recognize that we're actually having these thoughts. All right? So we do that by cultivating an anchor, all right? And to start out, we use the breath as an anchor, all right? So what I would like you to do now is to take the next handout out, and it's called, I think, Rhythmic Diaphragmatic Breathing, and take a moment to read that. Take your time. All right, so what does this handout tell you? It tells you that we've basically unlearned how to breathe. I don't know if that's a word, but and why? Because we're constantly getting tagged with these fight or flight triggers. So, and especially, you know, these things. Every time we pick up the phone, you start to think, all right, did this person email me that was supposed to email me? Or why hasn't this person emailed me? Or, you know, you walk outside, the horns are honking, you turn the TV on, there's negative news, and this creates this shallow chest breathing, which is really unproductive for the science handout. Actually, also society. A lot of women actually don't breathe into their diaphragm because they don't want their bellies to be expanded. So,
No way.
so in any event, so what we need to do actually is we need to relearn how to breathe. All right, so we'll start out with a little exercise. I'm going to ask you all just to put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. You have to put down the glass of wine bucket. Or not, you know, whatever you want.
It helps though, no.
Yeah. So I just want you to sit, you know, in decent posture. All right? And the idea is that the hand on your belly should move and the hand on your chest actually shouldn't. So just try that out. Go at your own pace and see if that works for you. All right, so some feedback. How does that feel for
It's
people?
not the
It's
normal way of
uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
I have a problem breathing.
You have a problem breathing? Okay.
You're on your phone.
It's
Denise.
kind of like when you realize you're slouching and that feels good, and then when you try to, you know, when you try to sit up, that feels uncomfortable, but that's so much better for you.
It
Right.
feels comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels good. No, that's good.
Yeah, it does. actually. So if
I
it
felt my
felt
belly- I felt my
uncomfortable,
belly
I
hand
would
move.
say
I didn't feel
work
my
on
chest
it, you
hand
know?
move.
You have to work on it. How did it feel for you?
My belly hand moved, my chest hand did not.
He's done.
Okay, good.
That's good,
Good.
good.
Any other comments? Or?
That kind of breathing makes you at least for me, makes me immediately feel more like.
Yes,
Right.
yes, completely.
Right. So it definitely, it grounds you. And, you know, one thing I say that I teach is I teach the mindful toolbox, and I teach you how to bring mindfulness into your life and your work. And one thing that we talk about is cultivating this awareness of breathing properly. And how do you do that? Well, there are all these times throughout the day that you can check in, and it's informal meditation actually, where you can check in and just check in with your breath. So while you're waiting for the elevator, while you're waiting for the subway, while you're at a red light, you know, these are times in your day that if you add them up, it's a lot of time. And if you try this for the next few days and you can remember to do it, you're going to find that when you say, oh, you know what, I'm going to do some diaphragmatic breathing right now, you're going to find that you actually, when you say that and you decide to do it, many times you're going to realize that you're kind of holding your breath. I mean, obviously you're breathing, but you're not really breathing properly, and you're not really oxygenating the body properly. So this is also why, you know, another big benefit of mindfulness are physical benefits, enhancing the immune system. You breathe better, it's better for you. So again, another reason why mindfulness and practicing is so important, and another reason, another way you can get the benefits. So I've included in your folders a whole bunch of little stickers, and these stickers are actually meant to be little triggers, all right, to remind you to check in with your breath. All right, so let's kind of popcorn out. Where might be a good spot to put a sticker?
On your
Anybody?
computer screen.
Computer screen.
Oh,
On your phone.
Phone,
My
definitely.
cell phone.
Cell phone, definitely.
Fridge.
Fridge, right.
For my wife.
I was thinking
Bathroom mirror.
Vice
I
forever.
was thinking Jim's head.
Did you say my wife?
I did.
So, yeah, you stole my joke, you know, that's what I always say. That's what I end up with, it's your spouse's forehead. So, you know, just breathe while she's yelling. Just breathe, yes, dear, yes, dear, right. So, you know, one little trick. So, any questions so far on anything? All right, yeah.
How different is this than what used to be called and what was practiced for a very long time by a lot of people called Transcendental Meditation?
Okay, that's a good question. So Transcendental Meditation, I have to be honest, I've never practiced it, okay? I know very little bit about it, but what I do know is that it's mantra-based, and
It
so that's what you do, you focus on your mantra. Now, what I'm gonna do next is a concentration meditation with you guys, and TM is very much a concentration meditation. So mindfulness starts out with a concentration meditation practice. That's how you kind of learn to bring awareness to your thoughts, because that's step one. You have to recognize that your mind is going to la-la land, so you can bring it back and, you know, concentrate on your breath, and that helps you move on. So I will say, for what it's worth, that I still work with meditation teachers, and two of them started out with TM and graduated to mindfulness, for, you know, so they say. So again, no.
I can actually answer that because I did TM
I
years
did too.
ago. Yeah,
I did too.
and for me, I reject routine, so it was very hard for me to do it 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. And even here, I mean, I've worked with Jim, and I don't necessarily wake up every day and do my meditation, but I do the informal practice. So if I'm on the train or I'm feeling stressed and I do these breathing exercises, it really works. Whereas with TM, you don't get, you know, you don't have that option of necessarily just doing it whenever, you know, you feel the need to do it.
So also what we're learning today is really just, you know, beginner's mindfulness. It's kind of step one. You know, where you want to get to is you want to get to a spot where you're actually observing your thoughts kind of non-judgmentally, and then you can kind of deal with things or work through things. And that's kind of where you want to go with mindfulness. So it starts out with these concentration meditations, you know, just focused
So
attention.
just to take this step further, so you're saying to observe your thoughts, whereas in Transcendental Meditation, it was to
Get rid of
not
it.
focus on your thought. If you found yourself focusing
I
on
presume, like I said, I
your
don't know a
thoughts, you
whole
had to
lot.
bring it back to
Yeah.
not
Right,
focusing
right,
on your thoughts.
Right, but for today, we start out, again, you know, you can't learn to play tennis in one lesson. So this is a turbo intro to mindfulness.
We're not walking on hot coals at the end of the night?
You are.
You are.
We know that you can do it.
And him too.
So,
He's
You're still on your phone.
He's taking
I'm
notes.
very busy.
He's taking notes.
Really?
I'm also very busy
Nothing
and my
like
phone's in the
it's
program.
He's a very mindful.
Breathing.
Sit down. Thank you.
all right, so,
I yelled up you a second ago.
so what I'd like to do actually is give you a taste of a little breathing meditation, and here are the directions. I'm going to guide you through a meditation, and your mind is going to wander, all right? But when you catch your mind wandering, bring your attention back to the breath, the sensations of the breath, okay? And don't be frustrated if your mind wanders 20 times over the course of this. That's normal, all right? It takes practice, but the idea also, again, think about it. Once you practice this more and more, you'll be able to focus better and better. You'll be able to be more and more productive. Okay, so, and one of the best other tips for this is when you recognize that your mind has wandered, just label it. Say thinking, or say, you know, arguing with my wife, or worrying about the meeting. Just, what was that?
There you go.
You started.
Calling Sharon.
You go right
So,
ahead.
Right?
I'm not afraid of her.
so just label it. and bring your attention back to your breath, all right? So with that, I'm going to invite you all to close your eyes and become aware of your posture, all right? It's not necessarily important that you're sitting in perfect posture, but that you are sitting with a sense of dignity and intention to be present. Now I want you to slowly start to become aware of the fact that you're breathing and that your belly's rising on the in-breath and falling on an out-breath. And just slowly settling in, starting to breathe at your own gentle pace. Knowing that for right now, you have no particular other place to be other than sitting here, bringing awareness to the fact that you're breathing. The belly rises on the in-breath. Falls on the out-breath. Again, if your mind wanders, just label the thought. When you catch your mind wandering, that is the seminal moment of meditation. When you catch your mind wandering and you can bring it back to your point of focus, the breath, your anchor. Maybe bringing awareness to the sensation of the air moving through your nasal passage on an in-breath and down the back of your throat. Just bringing awareness to all the sensations of the breath. Perhaps on the next in-breath, attach the word soften. As your whole body becomes a little heavier and more relaxed. Paying attention to the duration of the in-breath. And the duration of the out-breath. On the next in-breath, attaching the word nourish. As your whole body is completely nourished and oxygenated. Feeling a little restless, label it. Just say to yourself, restless. As you bring your attention back to the breath. few moments, I'm going to ring a chime, at which point you can open your eyes and bring your attention back to the surroundings of the room. But until then, just take a few more moments and rest on the sensation of your anchor, the breath. All right. So, how did that feel for people? Just comments and,
Oh, see.
All right,
I wanna go smoke a joint.
all right.
Relax.
Good, good.
Perception is a lot sharper after.
Relaxed.
I saw a lot of colors.
Me
I
too.
I really
Really?
stayed
What colors
here
did you
and
stay?
turquoise.
I got green and yellow. Green, yellow,
I
turquoise.
got a lot of turquoise and
Yeah.
like lights.
Oh, I didn't
and-
come together December.
Yeah.
All right.
So what about putting yourself, controlling your breathing to the point, slowing your body down to the point where you feel like you are almost going to fall asleep? Because a lot of times sleeping really is about slowing your breathing.
Well, I have to tell you, I meditate every day, and sometimes I fall asleep meditating.
Right.
It's a good excuse for that. I was just thinking that.
But is
You can, but you know what? You can look at it like that, and there is actual science out there that says, 10 minutes of meditating is actually more rejuvenative than a nap. So what you're doing is you're giving your brain a rest, which people don't know how to do anymore.
Steve?
So true.
And that's why meditation is becoming so popular, because everybody's wired. You look at your phone before you go to bed, right when you wake up, when you're on vacation, when you're on the train. Yeah.
I have a question. Well, it's not, term meditation, but can't one choose their meditative process of, let's say, like really reading a book, or, focusing on something, writing an article, like focusing on something that they're then, only have that focus? I mean, can't that be a type
I
of
think meditation is a very broad term. People consider prayer a form of meditation. Exercise could be considered a form of meditation. So, sure. This for me is, what I practice now. I've always exercised, but when I was having my issues, I was still exercising, but I couldn't shut my mind off. And so, whatever works for you is what I would say is best.
So to go back to the sleeping part, not only do I fall asleep every time I meditate, sometimes I'll meditate or try to do some of these breathing exercises in order for me to fall asleep, like either to fall asleep at night or to take like a power nap throughout the day. Do I get the same benefits of meditation, or should I fight the feeling? Should I fight the feeling of sleepiness in order to get the?
Well, you started off by saying you do it to fall asleep. So, if listen, there are times I wake up in the middle of the night and I do some breathing, mindful breathing to help me fall back asleep. So, I would say that a lot of it is about intention. And you know what? I'm going to sit down with the intention to meditate and try not to fall asleep. We call it actually falling awake. Because you're clearing your mind of whatever junk inhabits our minds throughout the day. So it's all about your intention. If you happen to fall asleep every time you meditate, then do it when you wake up in the morning. It would be my suggestion. Maybe for 5 or 10 minutes after you have your coffee.
To add a further comment to that, this gentleman and I used to work at the same law firm, and I used to sit behind him, and he used to fall asleep all the time.
Billable hours, no doubt.
I've gotten to the point where like I actually schedule a power nap in the middle of my day at some point.
Yeah, listen, that's great.
It's crazy.
So,
Well, I don't have a boss anymore, so.
I would say, though, that if you want to start out with a little bit of a mindfulness practice, you can do this 5-minute breathing meditation that I just did. I have them I have a lot of different meditations on my website that you can download onto your phone. There's a password. The password is mind-body, all lowercase. The website information is obviously in the folder. So mind-body, we talked about that mind-body relationship. But, you know, again, I will guarantee you, if you were to start by just doing this little 5-minute breathing meditation practice and making a point of checking in informally throughout the day, again, triggers. I'm at the elevator, oh, let me breathe. I'm on the checkout line, instead of picking up my phone, let me do something more productive, quite frankly. Just take care of yourself. While I'm at a red light, while I'm in traffic, instead of getting pissed off, go to your breath. It's actually really, really powerful. And you will see many of the benefits that I talked about in the beginning of this presentation if you just do 5 minutes and check in throughout the day. I guarantee it. You know, and again, this is a very small part of mindfulness, but it's a very good start. So if anybody else has any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. My contact information is in those folders. Feel free to just reach out to me. I will gladly answer any questions. If you have interest in learning more about what this can do for you, reach out to me. I teach personal workshops. I teach corporate workshops. I have done work with schools to teach teachers how to help students deal with test-taking anxiety. I've come up with a whole process for that. I've worked with actors, and hopefully I'm going to be actually working with some athletes pretty soon.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of these benefits in the corporate world actually do flow down right to the bottom line. You know, a happier employee is a better employee. And there's actual other research out now that people that meditate get sick less, therefore they miss less work. Again, you're less stressed, you're going to be able to focus better and be more productive. Again, the toolbox I teach, before you're going to give a presentation, before you're going into the courtroom, whatever it might be, you know, you can learn a whole bunch of different tools that will help you perform better in all types of different situations. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.